Okay, it is to 50. So as promised, then the wash-up session. As I understand it, we're not going to be working from a printed list, which is absolutely fine. So I don't know, do you want to look at proposed main mods first, or actions?
I've got a combined list, so do you mind if I go through them? These are in addition to the ones that are contained in the Statements of Common Ground. And some of them include changes to what appears in the Statement of Common Ground. So, starting with Day 1, Matter 1, affordable housing, modification to set out clearly the need for and supply of affordable housing, and to set out a target, and part of this will be a revision and update to SS1 and PM55. The aim to increase above the 38% target that we've got at present, but to make it explicit. And we should include the approach to monitoring and the review of targets on a periodic basis, and the outcome if a target is not being met. Then there were some actions. You asked us to update the trajectory with all the housing delivery in and beyond the plan period, and that it should be on the basis of both including and excluding Queen Elizabeth Barracks, ST 35 and H 59. And to review the sustainability appraisal in relation to the testing of options for the affordable housing requirement. And to remove the reference in paragraph 566 of text to two affordable homes next to each other. Modification to H10. First, clarify whether outbuildings are included within the gross floor space calculation. To delete from H10 Roman 5 the reference to pro rata mix, because that is covered by H3.
Sorry, Mr. Elgin, I didn't catch that.
Delete the reference in H10 criterion Roman 5 to pro rata mix, because mix is dealt with in H3. It's consistent with other changes that we've made, as you know. And need to bring in the policy in line with the NPPF reference to gross figure. And to include a form of anti-avoidance provision to deal with the concern about developers bringing forward elements of a site in small numbers, which would allow the assessment of the affordable housing requirement by reference to the capacity of the overall site. In H4, to remove the reference to all and national when looking at conformity with other relevant policies. just so it refers to all, having regard to all other local plan policies. I think I've got a repetition of the point, which is the supply of affordable housing in the plan period to include the trajectory of sites and the affordable housing contribution. I think that's actually, Ms Bartle and I have expressed it in different terms, but it's the same point that I mentioned earlier. Then, dealing with matter 10, housing mix and density. I think these are all modifications. H2, review the approach to strategic sites. Figure 5.2, reword the figure legend to match the policy text. No, sorry, H4 came in here as well. It's the same point that I've already mentioned about removing the reference to national policies. But in addition, make clear demand as identified by the Council at paragraph 2. H9, paragraph 2 should accord with H3, or should refer to being in accordance with H3. And in relation to all strategic site policies, clarify the plan-wide reference to site master planning so it applies to all sites or specific strategic sites. Then day 2, matter 2, universities and colleges. A modification to ED5 relating to York St John's, which we will seek to agree between ourselves and Mr Tucker for the universities, about the inclusion of additional text regarding sports education facilities and bringing what's set out in the text at 716 into the policy. Then day 3, matter 3, student housing. Modification to ED1. Clarify the relationship of on-campus requirements to off-campus. And delete the last sentence in the final paragraph from in assessing need. In fact, as I'll mention in a moment, what we propose to do is to deal with off-campus accommodation by modifying H7, but I'll come on to that in a moment. Modification to ED2 and ED3 include positive wording referring to the new H7, positive wording about the location of student housing on campus. I do apologise. So we want to encourage applications to locate on campus, basically. ED3, replace demand with need. ED4, remove the reference to independent providers and economic prudence. And cross-refer to a new modified version of H7, which will deal with off-site student housing. which brings me to proposed modification to H7, which, building on suggestions in the Oxford Local Plan and the London Plan, is to be reworded to make the policy directed specifically to off-campus student housing, including the allocation for York St John's, so it will still retain that allocation. It will include guidance on how need is to be assessed. And need means not merely immediate need. I think that was the point Mr. Tucker was keen on. Should make provisions for affordable housing contributions, and we will need to identify the threshold for that and the level of contribution. It will require nomination agreements with the two universities, possibly, we'll have to think about this, other tertiary education providers, which will at least in part allow them to address with the private providers the affordability issue. And then reword the final part of the policy so there's a policy criterion to restrict the use of student accommodation to full-time students and set conditions for the management of those properties to protect amenity and everything else that may be relevant. And in connection with that, we've agreed an action to estimate the capacity of allocation SH1 with York St John's to allow a fuller consideration of whether it will meet the need. The modification should include an estimate of capacity and be included in H1. Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Irvin, I didn't get that last bit.
Yes, the modification should include an estimate of capacity and be included in H1. Then day 4, matter 6, non-residential strategic sites. Policy SS21. Reword the final part of the first paragraph so that it refers to having regard to the following issues. Rather than being in accordance with. Then reword the criterion relating to traffic and highways to demonstrate that all transport issues have been addressed. I can't spell. Including consideration of the provision of sustainable transport.
Was that also SS21?
Yes, that's SS21. Then SS23, reword the ending of the first paragraph as for SS21. And reword the reference at criterion Roman 5 to the site being in a sustainable location and consider all transport issues, including optimising connectivity to sustainable modes of transport. And and reword criterion Romans 6 so that it reads the scheme where appropriate. This is about landscaping. Remember, the concern was whether we were asking them to screen and blend in with the landscape at the same time. Yeah, vaguely remember it too. Anyway, the word should be something along the scheme where appropriate, either to mitigate, and then additional wording, and or provide an appropriate relationship, etc. But it's to make sure it's not cumulative. Then SS24, and this was Mr. Griffiths' suggestion, so I'm blaming him for this one. Remove the reference to with the agreed site master plan through the existing outline consent with simply with a site master plan. So it's not tied to the existing master plan and consent, but just a master plan. And then the only remaining thing under that matter was to check, was an action to check the planning history of ST37. Then day 5, matter 6. Non-strategic housing allocations. A modification to H1. A footnote to table 5.1. Refer to overall yield, including built development. And that age 53 is washed over with the green belt, but not requiring very special circumstances.
Sorry, just bear with me a moment.
I didn't think it was that exciting. It's all right, we're nearly at the end.
And yeah, apologies, I didn't catch the last one in my eagerness to remove my jacket.
Age 53, washed over by green belt, but not requiring very special circumstances. And we are to check the capacity of age 31 and show the correct site area for age 46. The rest are actions. To check the lease on age 55 and whether that's been factored into the employment figures. I've got no recollection of these.
That's the COVID.
Oh, yes.
COVID vaccinations.
Of course it is. Age 56, we should review the approval and the open space on site and consider if the policy is suitable in this respect, and whether the land within the developed site should be designated as green space or local green space.
Of course, these were yours, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. You did a really good job.
And finally, under this, to check if age 58 is 100% affordable housing. And day 6, matter 7, Queen Elizabeth Barracks. And you asked us to undertake a habitats assessment for age 59 in isolation, and to consider whether there's a number of houses that could be accommodated without an adverse effect on the integrity of the SAC. I'll just add to that something that we've talked about outside the examination. It may well be, because of distance considerations, we may look at whether if there is a particular number that doesn't have an effect. whether that should be located on ST35 rather than H59, because H59 is more proximate to the SAC in some aspects than the further bits of ST35. So we'll look at them together and come up with, if there is an HRA solution, we'll try and come up with the best solution. Then on the strategic sites under...
just on that one,
yes.
which I do recall, I think that also included getting engagement from Natural England.
Oh, no, the HRA would have to be, Reg 63 requires, Reg 70, whatever it is, 74, 75, requires us to do that. Then matter 4, the strategic sites. Firstly, remove the high quality design criterion from any strategic site policy that refers to it. And we'll rely on the development management policies. With
Perhaps just one thing to have in mind when we come on to the design policies in phase 4 is to just recognise that that's been done to make sure that whatever the policy says fits the strategic sites where you've removed that criteria.
Yes, yes. I'm sure Ms. Bartle and Mr. Linus will take that fully on board. With regards, he's in Italy this week. SS14, which is ST16, to clarify the remaining allocation. In relation to ST32, clarify that the 570 figure is reflected in the supply figures table. In SS16, which is ST36, we agreed yesterday to change the reference to prior to development to prior to first occupation in criterion Roman 2. And in SS18, which is ST33, remove the reference to the high standard of design from criterion Roman 2, but retain the other aspect of criterion 2.
When you said ST16, you should have said ST31, your note was wrong.
No, that's Laura's note, not mine that's wrong.
No, I'm saying the note.
Sorry, SS14 is ST31.
No, SS16.
SS16 is ST31, thank you.
There's a couple of points we need to pick up from.
Yeah, hang on a second. Let me just correct my version. Right, yes, and I think...
And picking up the second part of matter 4, 2 actions. The first action in respect of ST33 is clarification as to whether the landowner of the western portion of the site is a willing landowner. The second action is in respect of ST36, and that's for the council to follow up with the DIO on a modification, a master planning modification in the manner that I suggested yesterday, the day before, can't remember when it was, in the manner that, the manner that I suggested yesterday, dealing with all those site characteristics. And that's SS20. And then from today, sir, 2 modifications to policy H5. Of course. I should say that's matter, I think one, can't remember, 9 today?
Yeah, matter 9.
9, thank you. 2 modifications to H5. First, part A, substitute identified with provided. Secondly, Part C, criterion 7, use the words have regard to, not the words in accordance with. And then finally, an action from today was to investigate the additional site, the lay-by site, as you referred to earlier, which actually we think is called Noodle Hill. Like pot noodle, but hill.
That's it.
Okay, excellent, very good. I don't know if on any of those there are any points of clarification or anything like that we need to go to, or it's all very, very clear in your minds.
I think so.
Well, that is fantastic news.
Yeah. Good.
I don't know, is there anything else that we need to cover?
The only thing I was going to raise with you is appreciate MIQs and timetable for phase 4 will be coming out shortly. Can I suggest a date for hearing statements for phase 4, which I mentioned to Carol, and we thought noon on the 31st of August, which is the Wednesday before we restart on the 6th, the following Tuesday. Carol's keen on noon, so she can get the stuff out and we can get it up onto the council website. Hopefully the same day. And certainly not, if not the following morning.
I think also it gives people time. Yeah, it gives people time after the bank holiday to at least do some work on it before the Wednesday deadline. And then I've got time to turn it around and hopefully get to the council and they can get it on the website on Friday morning at the latest, so people got the weekend to view it.
Thanks. When can I have the statements?
I'll aim to get them to you by the end of Wednesday, Thursday morning at the very earliest. Is that okay?
There'll be quite a bit of work to do, and we've got August and managing people's holidays as well. So I thought it was better to keep it then than go for something which is perhaps less achievable by everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think if Mr. Griffiths and I have the statements by Thursday morning at the absolute latest, is that doable? Okay, well, on that basis, I'm happy with that. With that noon on the 31st of August as the deadline. So I think the MIQs and the timetable are all bottomed out now, aren't they, Carol?
Yeah, we just decided to hang on in case we need to amend the draft hearing programme, but that's sort of some aiming to get them out tomorrow, Saturday.
Feels a bit weird talking to you with this on, but anyway, did you say tomorrow or Saturday?
It goes out over 2 days because I can only send out 500 emails a day, so I have to split it over 2 days.
Okay, I suppose the critical thing then is when it could be on the website.
I could get it to them to get it on the website for tomorrow. So at least it is there.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get it on today, given the time. So tomorrow, yeah, agreed.
Perfect. Okay, good. Right, yep. Unless there's anything else.
Have a good summer.
You too, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, cheerio.